William and Delores grow closer as they get near their destination. Maeve decides maybe it's time for her to get on out, and the board makes its move to wrestle the park away from Ford. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out too well. Plus, of course, the big reveal that wasn't entirely unexpected. You know what I'm talking about. It's HBO's Westworld, Season 1, Episode 7. Trompe L'Oeil. It's to deceive the eye. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Westworld. So, there are spoilers, lots and lots of spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Alright, so, let's go. Big episode this week, lot of big movement, lot of big story being revealed this week. But let's start off with the title itself here, Trompe L'Oeil. That means a French term to deceive the eye. Trompe to deceive, l'oeil the eye. This is a painting technique used to make a 2D image look 3D, a sort of forced perspective ideal. But here, of course, we are talking about illusions appearing real. That's really what the whole park is about. It is something that is fake, that is appearing real. But there's a lot of things that appear real that really are fake in this as well. So we've got a couple of different perspectives going on here. So let's start things off with Delores and William. And we've got here is that, it's just the love story really developing really nicely. Really starting to see the big connection going, especially now that Logan's gone. We don't have that extra distraction. We can really just sort of focus on them. And you got to appreciate, William's going through kind of a big thing right now. He's got someone back at home that he's supposed to go back to, but he is falling in love with the park. He's falling in love with Delores. And even though he knows that idea that this is fake, this is all something that is designed around him, Delores, again, not your typical host, really pushing things in different directions, really opening up a lot of doors and perspectives for William, starting to see things a little bit differently. This is part of that whole Trompe L'Oeil idea. He knows that this is fake. He knows that the park is, everything in it is designed, and yet those emotions still come in. And I love the viewpoint that he had, that he told Delores is, I thought that this park, just catered to my, lowest desires, but really it reveals my deeper self. Through all of these actions, through this type of reality, is really forces William to examine what it is that he actually really wants in life. What is it that he is going for? And I think that in many ways, that's something any of us would love to be able to do, to be in that type of circumstances where we can push all of those boundaries and find out who our really deeper self is. And that's really what's going on with William here. He's looking past the falseness that he has created in his own life and is now accepting the truth, even though that truth might be set inside some other falseness, but falseness that is becoming real. So again, all really interesting stuff. But, really for them, it's just moving through territories, getting towards this new place that they are looking for. A great little sequence there when the Confederados attacked, coming up with a big Gatling gun and blowing away, and then they send out the guy, and you think that it's them with the white flag, but it's really one of the corpses that Lawrence has filled up with nitroglycerin. So one shot blows him up, and there goes the big chase scene. Fun chase scene. Really liked it. Great horse work. Wonderful perspectives, really. There's a lot of great shots. One or two I'll hit on later on this. But a lot of really just wonderful camera work in here. And then, of course, almost when they're caught up, then we have the Ghost Nation shows up, a little conflict there, and that gives the opportunity for them to escape. The one question I did have with that is, Lawrence is carrying around a couple of those nitro-filled guys on the other horses. With all that bouncing around, don't you think one of those might have gone off? Think maybe a little bit. You're supposed to be careful with nitroglycerin. You don't want to bounce that stuff around. Anyway, but then of course we finally get to the big moment where Delores sees the image that she was painting in that morning. And she said, I had this vision and I wanted to paint this. And this, of course, is the vision of where she is. So her subconscious, whatever program is being sent to her, is constantly pushing her in these new directions, really opening up other doors. And now they're going where nobody has gone before. As Lawrence has said, you're going to have to ask the dust because no one has ever come back from there. So they are now really at the far reaches edge of the park. And this is where hopefully they're going to find the maze and what the next level of their journey is. And of course, there is Maeve, who at this point is kind of dealing with the downside of that heightened intelligence that she got last week. As she's starting to go through her life, she's starting to see the unreality of things. I mean, it really comes up when Clementine pops up and begins their kind of standard morning conversation that they've had over and over again. Maeve already knows what she's going to say. I mean, already starts that statement, already dives into her dreams and viewpoints, and is just, while Clementine is her friend, you can see that difficulty again. Just wonderful work by Tandy Newton in this role. Of seeing and interpreting this is my friend, but she's fake. She's not real. She can see that unreality in her, and it's not something that is appealing at all. Now, she doesn't have a lot of time because that's when the text freeze everybody and come in. And again, that's another cool sequence where, of course, everyone freezes, but Maeve doesn't. She has moved beyond that programming at this point. I love she thinks she's coming for her and grabs that knife and is smart enough not to move. Again, heightened intelligence, very good move. But this then does bring her again to see this unreality of her world. And when she goes back and talks with Felix, wanting to find Clementine, wanting to see what happens to her, which of course, we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the board, but then goes up and sees Clementine getting lobotomized by Sylvester. This really, I think, is that breaking point. It's again, she is smart enough, now that she is aware, she can see the falseness in the world around her, and that's not something that she wants to do and deal with anymore, which leads her to that final plan that she reveals at the end is, I want to get out, and I want you guys to help me. And I think it's a real interesting point there, because even in the beginning of that scene, of course, Maeve is naked as Felix is repairing her, but as Felix and Sylvester are speaking to her afterwards, she is draped. And again, we know that is that difference, that humanity aspect. And I think that is a great visual on the shift and change, as she's no longer sitting there disguised like just another host, but now there's sort of that acknowledgement that she is something more, that she is an individual. And of course, the board makes their move. We have Miss Hale showing up, enjoying the pleasures of the park, all of them, but really get to decide a little bit more. I mean, one thing about this is we get to see a little bit more of what the board is actually going after. Okay, so all of the data that's been processed and collected and everything, all of that is on the park. Ford has not allowed any of that to go off the park, and I think that is his way of maintaining the value of everything in here. The board itself wants all that tech. They want all of that information. In order to get to that, they've got to get rid of Ford. Now, of course, what they're playing is they don't care about the hosts. They don't care about the park. They care about two things. They care about the intellectual property. They care about the code, everything that's making it, but also the data. And we've kind of hit on this a little bit before, that there is some other thing that the board is going after, some research project, something that is going on with all of this data that has been gathered by the host. Now, is it on the people? Is it on the activities? Is it secrets? Is it psychological underpinnings? Is it a way of reapproaching stuff and selling things later on? I mean, what actually they're looking for in this data, we haven't really heard or implied yet. But that really seems to be the value that the board, see in this park. Again, it's information. It's kind of like in today's world, we'll let you use free apps as long as we can collect your data, what you like, your viewpoints, your shopping habits, things like that. It sort of seems to be the idea that they're implying here, though obviously on a much bigger and a much deeper level. But the way they go about it is using the reveries against Ford. Now, we already know, of course, that Bernard and Theresa have had these long discussions. The reveries are allowing previous memories from previous builds, previous lives, previous incarnations to be accessed by the hosts. And that is starting to cause their glitch. That's what happened to Dolores' dad, and in some ways is affecting Dolores, and then gets transferred over to Maeve. So There is an actual glitch, of course. There is this actual problem. But the board seems to be building on top of that and using that as an excuse that, hey, this is so bad that it's going to cause the host to override their basic programming, their basic safety protocols, and be able to kill a human or attack, maim, basically make them unsafe. And it's kind of funny because, again, the reverie glitch and its effects are real and have actual effects. But they overstep their board because they program Clementine to actually do their physical actions, to actually be violent. That wasn't a result of the glitch. That's the result of the board's programming. And that's something that Bernard accuses Theresa of straight off when he says, like this was sloppy, this is poor programming. I could see it. Ford could see it, and there was a denial off of Theresa there. So they're kind of overstepping their bounds. They're missing the actual glitch and trying to sell it as an actual danger, which was in some ways kind of funny. Now that did make me think for a moment that, okay, so are all these subtle programmings that like Elsie was talking about last week, are these then changes that are coming from the board in order to kind of heighten a danger? But I don't think so. I think, yes, they're making some changes. Again, Theresa is behind the satellite bit, and we can see what they're doing is they're trying to sneak that data that's been trapped in the park off of the park. That's why they're sending it up to the satellite and back down. That's something so the board could use. And they are making changes in order for that to happen. However, there's other programming errors, I think, that are more, there's other programming problems that Elsie was going into. Again, just affecting the first gen, just affecting Arnold's models, I think that is a different programming error. So in a way, it's kind of funny because the board is missing the actual problems that is starting to exist and manifest in the park and creating a fake one in order to try and get what they want. But of course, that is not going to work. And through all of the realization of that failure, we get the really big reveal. Richard, everyone, you guys have spotted this pretty early on, and we've had a few discussions through that. And that, of course, the big reveal that Bernard is a host himself. He is an artificial person designed by Ford, which really makes things really interesting in the park because how many other people aren't actually people? I think that is a fair question to be asked. And it was really, I enjoyed the way they did that reveal of Bernard, facing up with Theresa. Hey, I know that you're behind it. I know you've got these things, kind of suckering her into believing him into point of like, yes, I know that you faked it, but there are some real problems here. Come on, let me show you. And as soon as you're sneaking people off, it's like, what's going to go on here? But that revelation of Bernard being a host, I think that was beautifully done. And they give the hints really early on when he gives a self-realization test to Hector there at the very beginning and shows him the pictures of the cities and the towns and everything. And the response is, I don't really see anything there. That doesn't mean anything to me. And that gets played on upon. Even when Bernard makes that statement, when he leads him to Ford's family's house, I don't know what to say, but to say, hey, the hosts do most of the surveying, but they're not programmed to see this place. They could be staring right at it and they wouldn't even notice it. And right then is when Theresa asks, what about this door? And they did that great camera bit where they show the wall and then pan away and then pan back, and now the door is there, revealing that Bernard didn't see it. What door? Doesn't notice it until it's already opened and he can follow through. And then, of course, that was really the first main hint. But they really, again, they don't leave us in suspense for that long. When Theresa finds the drawings, then, of course, finds the drawing of Bernard, and Bernard's response is, I don't see much of anything here. The exact same response that Hector gave. That was the perfect revelation, all that we needed to see. And, of course, Ford stepping out and saying, nope, this is what's happened. I told you. Do you think that you can take this park away from me? Again, Anthony Hopkins just really, just with basic words, simple words, instilling more fear and just trepidation around him than any gun or any weapon or anything else could have done. Anthony Hopkins only needs words in order to instill that type of emotional response. And of course, that signs the end of Theresa right there. Now, my guess is that host that's being built right there, that is another Theresa that he is going to then reinsert back into the park as one of his own creation. You know, free here in the park under my control. A couple little things. One, that shot of the mesas, they go by and you see that that's actually a building with the little glass slits there, and you can see the windows underneath hidden behind. Just a beautiful shot. I mean, there's a lot of great sweeping vistas. Even that last shot where you had William and Delores out and she sees, this is the image that I saw. I mean, just that one, the horse galloping up along the side of the ridge and the whole opening behind. I mean, just great camera work, great shots. This week, just some amazing stuff. But I got to say, that office building hidden inside the bluff, I thought that was beautiful. I guess it's an apartment building, hotel. And the the gunfighters. When Maeve wakes up in the morning and gets ready and is walking down the street, the two gunfighters behind her. Last week it was two black hats that turned and shot each other. You're like, all right, cool, this is what happens in the background. Here, again, different people. Same black hat, but now there's a white hat. And he's a little bit more fumbly. But I just love that pause there. As last time it was like, blam, blam, and he went down. And this one, it's like, oh, you're slow, so I'm going to wait a minute before I shoot. And blam, and then you shoot. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of a cool little background, just showing the variations in the park and how it alters for the guests. All right, so I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. Got 3 more episodes left in this season. Got to find out, is Elsie gone? Was she taken away? The computer said that she was on vacation, so that means, is it somebody in the park that took her? Is that Theresa? Is it Ford that took her and now they're making another Elsie there? Or is there someone else that she is gone with, that she is checking out? Hopefully we'll find out more of that next week. Then, of course, we've got the maze, we've got the man in black has to show up, and, of course, finding out what's the next step the board is going to take and what is Ford's big narrative that he has been creating. Hopefully all those will come up very quick. If you did enjoy this review, go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments do you have? Throw those down in the comments section below. You can go ahead and hit that subscribe button right here. It's a little picture of me. Come back every week. And if you did happen to miss any of the reviews for Westworld, I'll throw up a link to the playlist right here that you can check those out. So that's going to close it out for us for this week. I am D, and I am out of here. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.